You are listening to the Hail Mary podcast presented by Dorm Room Sports. Welcome to the Hail Mary podcast presented by Dorm Room Sports, a show where four college kids and, security guard that eats live donuts debate all things sports. We'll be focusing our debates primarily on football, but won't be exclusively just football talk. We'll start off by introducing the cast. I'm Zach Grieber, the producer of this show and the genius takeover. Next, we have Luke Schenkel.
What's up, boys? I'm an Olympic athlete.
Michael Rothschild, otherwise known as Rug.
Hey, Redskins are garbage and Lamar Jackson's better than every quarterback.
David Riggio.
Yo, name's Dave. Zach's an idiot.
Mark
I'm a
Aiden.
shitty security guard and avid hater of our host, Zach Grieber.
While we have you here, let's make sure that you follow our Twitter account at Hail Mary Cast. That's HAILMARY Cast on Twitter, and we'll be having an Instagram and TikTok coming up soon. You should be hearing this on the day Dorm Room Sports goes live on April 20th. Now into the show.
Well, if you guys turn the podcast off after Genius Take Giver, I understand. I don't blame any of you.
Yeah, that's just piss poor sports beast. It's absolutely piss poor.
We're all in agreement so far that
I
Zach
thought it
is by
was-
far the worst take
I don't
giver.
know. No, Mark, stop. Mark, be quiet, please. All right, thank you. All right, I think we're gonna go
Mark,
ahead and
don't
jump
say that
right
again.
into our Brady to Tampa debate. Like I said, we're gonna jump right into our Brady to Tampa debate and keep Mark to talking to a minimum.
That's right.
Luke, you got anything to say?
I'll wait to see what the rest of the group has.
I know Rug's been hot on this one. Rug has a lot of takes about the Brady and the
Well,
rest of basically the QB battle going across the nation.
Definitely an avid Patriots hater, but we can put that aside for these purposes. I think it's going to be interesting because Bruce Arians, his whole career, has coached these gunslinger quarterbacks like Winston, Carson Palmer, even Luck his rookie year, Ben Roethlisberger, and Brady's used to running this really precise offense in New England. And I think it's going to be kind of interesting how those two dynamics gel in Tampa. But I think it's going to work really well because Brady hasn't had a receiver half as good as Mike Evans or Chris Godwin in a very long time.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It's going to be very interesting to see. Tom Brady's completion percentage dropped 5% last year with the bad Patriots offense. I guess we're going to find out whether or not he's Bill Belichick made or not.
I mean, I think
I don't know if it's necessarily Bill
Bill Belichick made.
Ooh,
Bill
shut
Bel.
up,
I mean,
Zach.
I don't know about I don't know about Bill Belichick made. I'm not on that train at all.
I know about the Sean
I-
Payton train though.
I think we all
Oh,
agree that
God.
Tampa Bay is now an instant contender now.
Oh, they definitely are.
Yeah.
This might be a little hot takey, but I think they're better than New Orleans.
I agree.
I mean,
It's a little hot takey. I have a theory that, and I love Drew Brees, but when quarterbacks decline, they fall off a cliff, and I think Drew Brees is about to fall off that cliff this season.
Would you say Tom Brady fell off a cliff last season?
Yeah,
I
if you're
don't
saying that,
think
then,
so because I think Tom Brady. I thought his arm strength, his movement in the pocket was still really good. He just had literal morons at receiver, minus Julian Edelman, who was on one leg the half the season. I mean, N'Keal Harry couldn't get open to save his life. He was
I
like
can get
last in
behind that.
separation rate. Yeah, exactly. He
Yeah.
was like last in
behind
separation
that.
rate according to Pro Football
Also-
Focus
I mean-
last year.
Julian Edelman was also had the highest drops in the league, I believe, too.
Well, it's hard to
Says
tell
Zach.
because he only had 300 less yards and 5 less touchdowns last year after losing Gronk, so it's going to be interesting to see what his numbers are like.
Yeah.
I think personally it just comes down to if they can protect Tom Brady in the pocket. I mean, they have to keep him off.
The Bruce
that.
Arians offense is
They
more
have
long
to.
passing. It's more like a long passing game, right? Compared
Yeah.
to what
Yes.
the Patriots have been running
Yes.
their whole life, or not their whole
Yeah,
life.
definitely.
Tom Brady's whole life, he's been running that short passing, Josh McDaniels offense. So he's gonna be in a new system.
I'm a personal
Yeah.
believer that you
But
put
they
me
do
behind.
they do have speed.
I'm a personal believer you put me behind any offensive line, and you give me Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, I could be a Pro Bowl quarterback. I mean, they're two of the
Okay,
best
well.
receivers in football.
That's just not
Like-
true.
Well, on to the next one on that note. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Okay, well, don't say you. Let's say like Josh McCown or someone. Don't say you.
Josh McClown.
I mean, Dave, you can't move anymore. Like you've lost all mobility.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. 4.840 in high school, Zach over here. quote unquote.
Run, dude. You can hear you coming from a mile away when you run.
You can hear you coming from a mile away. It's a good take.
Yeah.
All right. Next thing we want to talk about is obviously this new shitty playoff format
It's not
that
shitty.
none of us.
Not shitty.
I think it's shitty. I mean, personally, I think it's shitty. I mean,
It's not.
I don't know.
Everybody
I don't think it's
wins.
shitty.
Everybody wins except the 2 seed.
Well, I think the 2
Fans
seeds
win.
especially get fucked in this new format because
Yes,
the
they
2
do.
seed won the previous 2 Super Bowls other than last year, of course, and 5 times since 2002. So
I just want to give Mark credit for all the research
Yeah,
he's done. I found
way
four-
over
four
research.
statistics. So
Yeah,
far.
definitely forced, but
Like
yeah,
he's trying to
actually,
take
no,
over here.
well,
I
that's
didn't
actually an
know that. That's a
interesting
good
stat.
point.
So
Yeah, that actually is.
No, that is
The
that is
two
an
seeds-
interesting
That's
stat.
a
That's
great
very-
point, though.
The 2 seed doesn't get a bye anymore. It screws them over.
Because one thing that's
Agree.
interesting is since my Ravens won it all in 2012, there hasn't been one team from Wild Card Weekend who's won the Super Bowl, even gotten to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean,
This
there's a
might
few
make
that
it a
get
little
to
easier.
the championship.
I can't say I'm opposed. I'm a Cowboys fan, so
Yeah.
you know, if 8 and 8's
yeah,
gonna
you
get
need
the
as many
playoffs.
chances
You know?
as possible.
Well,
to
the
get in the
NFC East
playoffs.
won't be sending 2 teams to the playoffs most seasons anyway.
Yeah, we
regardless.
won't be seeing that anytime soon.
Yeah, but do you like the fact that an 8-8 team now has a higher chance of getting into the
No,
playoffs?
'cause-
Why not?
I personally don't.
Why not?
Because I don't. Because you know the better teams in the league. Like when it comes down to the end of the season, you know what teams
Do
are
you?
good.
I agree.
This is allowing mediocre teams throughout the season that you know aren't going to win a Super Bowl to get in.
I don't know.
That's just my
I'm under
opinion.
the any given Sunday mindset personally.
Yeah, I'm
I
with you
think,
on that one. In my
I
opinion,
think you look-
more competition is better, but I'm worried it's going to turn into an NBA format where too many teams get in.
Yeah, we don't want the first round of the playoffs to be a snooze
Yeah.
fest like the NBA.
Yeah, that's also 7-game series.
But
with
that's
teams that
also
are way-
You're
5.
right, though. You're right about
But-
that. I think the best thing about it is more games to bet on. Like that's just more games to watch. Honestly, just more games to watch, more football. But I mean, it's right that the postseason gets diluted a little bit. The regular season is more meaningful. But I mean, what do we call meaningful if the 8-8 Ram 8?
Right.
Let me
Seven
let me ask
at
you a
the
question.
end of the
Let me
season.
ask you a question. When you think of Marshawn Lynch, what do you think of?
Greatest running back of all time.
I mean, come on, that's just ridiculous.
I mean,
What's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of Marshawn Lynch? The beast mode run.
Obviously, the run.
No.
Yeah, the beast.
I mean, I
mode.
They went
guess.
7-9 that year. They went 7-9.
We won a wild card
Where
team.
did that come from? Exactly. They won their
We
division.
we won
If
the
you won that
division.
division.
Isn't
you
that
make
the year of
playoffs.
the Tony Romo fumble?
No. Different
Years
year.
back.
Well,
But-
there goes all the research that Mark built up, all the credibility, like
Yeah,
5
they-
years
they're
behind on
done
that.
beforehand. But yeah, to basically talk about the playoffs, stick back to our topic that we were talking about. Everybody wins from a business standpoint. The fans win, who the team makes it. The owners win, they get another game. The only thing, basically, I don't really see a downside other than maybe quality of play going down, and I guess the 2 seed getting screwed over, which will probably be the Seahawks because we're just a great organization. But
Yeah.
other than that,
I don't think the quality of play will decrease. It's still football on any given Sunday, and it's still playoff football. I think that atmosphere will still be the exact same
well,
as
Markaki,
any other
do you
game.
have a stat on wild card teams?
No, I do
Yeah,
not,
can-
unfortunately.
Okay,
Oh
well,
well.
Alrighty,
I'm
then.
just saying. I just think you all of a sudden you give a team a chance that maybe didn't earn it in the regular season. Like you talk about the 7-9 Seahawks making it, they won their division, they earned it. But
and they
you
won the
give-
next game.
Well, it's going to be interesting too with the
Exactly.
17-game schedule. It could be an extra 2 games for some of those teams.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be weird.
I think it gives the teams that get injuries early in the season because I think in the NFL the start you get off to with the old format's so important. Teams who football's such an emotional sport. Teams that get on an emotional roll can carry that for a while and do just well enough to sneak into the playoffs. But
I
now
agree with
teams
that.
that get off to a bad start that maybe feel all right, we got a little more of a chance here to right the ship. So it'll be interesting how that dynamic plays out.
almost the Rams last year. They almost snuck in, something like that.
I have a question regarding scheduling because I haven't really looked at this too in depth about the way the playoffs work. Is there still going to be the bye week in between the last round and the Super Bowl?
Yes,
What,
that
the
is
Pro
still going
Bowl?
to be the week of the
Yes.
Pro Bowl.
The Pro Bowl.
There's still going to be
Pro Bowl's
a
still
Pro Bowl week, right?
There's
still gonna be a Pro Bowl.
Here comes Zach with his genius take.
It was a good question.
I'd like to mention something regarding these wild card teams, though. If we could discuss,
Okay.
Go ahead.
what happened last season, where the Tennessee Titans came to Baltimore and made our Lord Lamar Jackson pass the
And
football.
Derrick Henry.
Yeah, this just wasn't on
trash.
the topic list, so I don't know.
This wasn't
No,
on
we're
the
not
topic
going to
list?
talk about it.
I think this can easily be fit in.
Yeah,
I think
we
this
can
can
Is this-
definitely make room to
squeeze
talk
this
about
We
in.
it.
definitely have time for this.
Are we being? Am I being hijacked? Am I being set up?
I mean,
right
you
now?
were at the game. Why don't you tell us about what happened?
I'll tell you what happened.
You were
I tried to
there.
bet the Ravens live, and I couldn't connect to the internet.
No,
Thank
tell us.
God.
Okay.
No. In all seriousness, no. The Ravens just got shell shocked. I mean, they were riding high. They went from a team that we all kind of thought they're going to be 7-9, is Lamar Jackson our guy, and then they go on this 12-game win streak, and they're riding high the whole year, and they just didn't face any adversity until they were down 14-0 in the first half,
yeah.
and they just didn't make the adjustment. Their line didn't play that well. The Lamar is a little jittery. Seth Roberts is the worst receiver in NFL history and couldn't catch that beautiful dime Lamar Jackson threw. So good riddance to him. Glad we won't be seeing him again.
I think I can relate to that a little bit, Rug. It kind of reminded me of it was the 2016 season for the Cowboys. Romo goes down the preseason. Dak comes in. It's like the season's over. We end up going 13-3, make the playoffs, and then Aaron Rodgers comes in and puts his dick down our throat in the second round of the playoffs. But I mean, I just feel that relation to it. It was very similar. The way I looked at it and the flack that the Ravens received for going one and done after such a good season.
It's a good point. But hate to be this guy, but we're the Ravens and you're Dallas. We have expectations to win big games. So when we didn't do that, it was definitely a shell shock because I'm used to the Ravens being this gritty, like Hunter type team. They're the underdog, but they can always make a run. When Joe Flacco would just magically show up in the postseason.
I'm going to have to disagree with you there. I'm just going to say Lamar's the guy we thought he was. He can't throw the football, so they go down early and they're done.
Dude,
There it is.
Dude, I can't take the.
That was a ticking time
I can't take the Lamar slander. Like
2 4th and 1s, he runs into
you slander him.
back of his offensive line.
Right.
3
when your quarterback
Chargers last year.
When your quarterback throws for 2,500 yards in a season, you can slander Lamar Jackson.
Well, yours only threw for 3,100, and somehow he's an MVP. So.
Oh yeah, because he didn't lead the league in touchdown passes. He didn't rush for 1,200 yards.
That's not fair.
You know what though? You know what? Lamar. I don't have to argue for him. He'll prove it.
It might not be fair,
Last year
but
he
I think
went
people rode the Lamar hype train a little too much. I mean, don't get me wrong, he had a great season, but Russell Wilson got absolutely screwed.
All jokes aside, Lamar is one of the most entertaining football players I've ever watched. But in 2 playoff games, what has he done?
Nothing.
I mean, yeah, it's fair. He's 2 years into the league, and it's clearly something that needs to be established, that he needs to improve in the postseason. But I just believe he's going to do it because before last season, I didn't even know if he'd be our quarterback, and now he won MVP. He had a bad game, and yeah, he's just got to prove people wrong again.
I agree. I have hopes for Lamar. I think he's going to get better. There's no reason to believe he won't get better after the jump he made from his rookie to sophomore year. There's no reason to believe that in his third year that he won't make that jump again. Maybe not the same one. Maybe not the fringe starter to MVP jump, but just the game slowing down in front of him and watching things like unfold at a slower speed and things like. It's all going to come into effect, I think, personally.
Patrick Mahomes said he couldn't even read a defense until halfway through this year, so he definitely only has room to improve.
That was definitely a humble brag. Like, I'm sorry, I can't take that comment seriously. Like, seriously.
Probably a little. I'm sure there's a little bit of truth to it.
Well, you know what I mean, though, where that's like
Okay,
he's so
obviously,
good naturally.
Right.
It just comes so easy to him, where he's kind of just saying that. Like, what's Mitch Trubisky thinking reading that? Like, oh, see?
Well, Mitch Trubisky isn't even in the same stratosphere. He's going to lose his job this year to Nick Foles.
Yeah, probably.
Can I say something about Lamar, though? When we talk about Lamar, I think it's overlooked a little bit. He has great intangibles.
It's not overlooked. We acknowledge it.
I don't think a lot. I think a lot of guys don't acknowledge.
The dude's a great kid.
What are you talking about? That I can't believe.
I think we do. I think we do. I think we do as a group of guys together. We definitely acknowledge it. I don't think it's acknowledged generally.
And I hate this word. Like, I want to put a bullet in my brain saying it. You ever hear the word "stan"?
Okay.
I mean, we make jokes about Lamar, but at the end of the day, I think we all believe he's an elite prospect. and he only has room
I
to
mean, you
improve.
just said he wasn't the real deal.
Yeah, I was obviously joking, but
So definitely won that debate there.
I mean, his numbers don't lie, and his wins against big time teams.
That's right.
Big playability.
But when you talk about him improving, I think he's definitely going to improve coming this year.
We don't know.
Obviously,
it's about what his
pending
ceiling as
injury.
a passer is. We don't know what his ceiling is.
Yeah, I think
his
he's
ceiling
an
as a
average
runner.
passer.
We know his
But, you
ceiling as a runner. It's
even if he doesn't have to take 10 steps forward this season. He just needs to keep developing. I think people want to overanalyze every move he makes, every time he tweets, every time he's gotten a new tattoo. Just want to let him grow as a young quarterback. He's in his third season.
I think his ceiling as a passer is above average and elite, given an elite receiver.
Okay.
I think we can all agree on that.
Well, he's got one clear weakness as a thrower. And so his arm strength's good, but his throwing form is a little limited where he struggles on throws to the outside the numbers. Middle of the field, he's good. He's got nice touch. He's got real nice footwork. It's improved a lot. He's throwing from a nice base now. He's going through progressions really well, but he's got to work on that.
He kind of reminds me of RG3 in that way. Great arm, great deep ball. He's obviously developed a little bit better.
He has touch on his passes to the inside, hence the 3 tight end formations. Every other play.
Yeah, that's also a product of Willie Snead being your second best receiver. So there's levels to it.
Oh, there's levels.
A concern I have about Lamar Jackson is, do we think he has a shelf life with his agility? Do we think he can improve enough as a passer?
That's what I was. That's exactly what I was going. That's exactly what I was.
I mean, yeah, you're probably right. But most things in the NFL don't last. I can't believe I'm taking Colin Cowherd's position on that. But.
I think there's a clock for Lamar. He has to become the passer he needs to be for when his legs run out.
Yes.
I've never seen a player in the NFL with his shiftiness. Maybe Barry Sanders, but I've never seen anyone juke out players like he does.
Quarterback.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like it.
No, it's a gift from God to Ravens fans who had to watch Joe Flacco 2-yard out route passes to the tight end for 10 years. I mean, just having an explosive offense like this and a quarterback who can just take off and run for a touchdown at any point. I mean, that spin. I remember pausing the run he had against Cincinnati, that spin move he made, and just trying to come up with a way that I could do that.
And that run against Houston.
I was like, all right, what do I have to do? I have to spin this way, get through this little gap, and I'm thinking I'd get killed. I get sandwiched.
You would fall on your face if you tried to do that in an open field.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah, there's maybe a handful of guys that can do that.
Yeah.
But you talk about his agility and stuff like that in the shelf life. And what I worry about is you just don't look. You look around the league and you don't see running QBs like that last a long time without injury. One injury could take away all of his legs, all of the running ability. And
one thing
that's scary to me.
One thing regarding that is he also doesn't know how to slide like a Russell Wilson, like a baseball player.
Why would he?
Yeah, but he knows how to avoid
because you need to slide. Yes, you can avoid the big hits all you want, but all it takes is one.
I don't know about that. He did take a
all
few
it
big
takes
hits.
is one.
All it takes is one hit for a QB in the pocket too. I mean,
you're telling me I'm Lamar Jackson and I can run like that? I am not sliding a day in my life.
There's situations where he's slid. He's just slid he just hasn't slid the right way. He slides sometimes to avoid.
He could work on it.
I'm not saying he can't. I'm just saying that could be a problem if he doesn't learn it.
Yeah.
It's the risk is there, but I'm just gonna enjoy the ride while it's going on.
Yeah, I'm glad you're not a delusional Ravens fan.
No, definitely not delusional. I think everyone has a sense of realism when it comes to Lamar Jackson, just with the scariness that it could all be over in one play.
Yeah, Twitter's Twitter.
He relies so heavily on his
That's all I'll say about
that
hysteria.
Yeah.
All right, let's get on to the next topic, which is our NFL draft QB discussion. I know Dave. For those of you who don't know, David Riggio is a huge draft guy, huge college, watches a ton of college tape, so he knows a ton when it comes to the QB discussion going on right now.
Yeah,
and I'll start it off.
If you want to start,
Dave
I like to think I know a decent amount about the draft. I look into it, try and find those guys from the small schools. Saint insert name, insert religion university. As regarding the QBs, I like this class. I like this class a lot. I think there's a good variety of quarterbacks. I love Joe Burrow. I love Tua. Outside of injuries, I love Tua. Herbert sucks, and I think you're going to get a common consensus, 5 of us with that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've kind of changed my tune about Justin Herbert a little bit. His
best
games last year. Well, hold on. Let me finish my thought here. His best games last year were against the best schools: Auburn, Stanford. He has his best games against those guys. So.
Still sold my parlay against Arizona State.
I'll get back to that. But after Herbert, I think the names get real hazy for a lot of people.
Love?
I'm not a big Love guy. I don't like Love a lot. I think you'll hear from Mark probably on this. Mark loves.
Love is blind. No pun intended.
But I'm a big Jake Eason guy from Washington. Mm-hmm. Dude has a rocket of an arm. He's got statue feet. Cinder blocks attached to his cleats. I'm pretty sure under the ground, but a rocket of an arm. And I feel like he needs to be talked about a little bit more. And I think he's a target for Tampa Bay at the beginning of the second round. You know, Brady's 45. This is a rental for Tampa Bay. So I think definitely one of these guys we're going to be talking about in this draft. They're going to be sitting behind Brady for a year, and I think they're going to develop decently well behind him as well.
Well, also, I think it's a good target for Jordan Love if he slips to the second round.
I'm not a Love guy.
No,
I watch Love, and when I watch him, when I watch a quarterback, I watch their hardest competition. I try to find their best game, and I watch that, and I try to find their worst game, and I watch that. And it just so happens for Love, his toughest competition was his worst game. LSU this year, he played terrible. I watch him. I'm just like, what makes this guy special? I need you, Mark, to tell me what makes this guy special. Because when I watch him, I see a 4th round quarterback that can be a career-long backup to maybe fringe starter. Maybe.
I'm with you on that one. I just love the potential here. The only thing that scares me is the 17 interceptions last year. I mean, that's really concerning. I mean, I know he lost 9 starters on offense, but 17 interceptions, you got to play above your competition if you're a first-round draft pick.
I think the thing that's happened with Jordan Love too is people want to since what Mahomes has done in the last 2 years. I think people want to quickly compare him to how Mahomes was out of college with his like.
I think that's big.
His good athleticism, how he throws the ball naturally, how he can improvise, things like that. I think people want to just because Mahomes happened basically. People.
Well, he has a lot of Mahomes qualities: the rocket arm, the little bit of mobility. The crazy arm angles. There's a little bit of Mahomes-esque quality to him.
But he's a poor man's Mahomes, in my opinion.
The dude stares down his number one like a supermodel. Like it's ridiculous. He doesn't get off first read. He throws he doesn't know what a corner is. He doesn't know what a cornerback is. He gets picked off by cornerbacks more than any other quarterback in college football.
Yeah, it's so hard to determine with college quarterbacks. Are they making all these mistakes because they're just crazy and they have the ability to tone it down, or they're just not seeing the field? And I think with Jordan Love, if the game's moving too fast with him and he's not seeing the field because there's such a large sample size of the amount of turnovers he's had, it's a major concern. It's not someone you can take. I think the 3rd round is where he belongs.
My pro comp for him is Deshaun Kaiser. When I watched Kaiser, it was the exact same problem. He saw one part of the field, and it moved at the speed of light for him.
I could see a Drew Lock situation panning out during the draft next Thursday where he falls into the second round like Drew Lock did to Denver.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't think that's falling for him. I think he's a second-round QB. I don't.
Well, somebody's going to take a chance on him. Somebody's going to fall in love with him and take him in the first round.
A lot of mocks have him that late. A lot of mid to late first round. Someone I'm sure will take a chance on him.
I think that's the great thing about the draft is we just don't know, because I think he has potential. If what I think, I'm better than NFL GMs personally. I think that, but if they're thinking anything like me, I'm not touching him till the 3rd or 4th.
Well, I can think of one NFL GM you're better than. He's not.
Really I agree. I agree with that 100%.
We'll get to that a little bit later.
We will get
that
to
situation. It also depends what Jordan Love you're getting. The past season or 2 years ago.
Now, okay, people love to argue that, but like when you're not seeing corners, you're not seeing corners. Like I know the coaching change can be detrimental to someone's stats, and it's a whole new offense. It's going to be tough in college, a whole new roster too. But at the same time, if you're like a first round projected quarterback,
Well, I just don't know what happened. He threw
you gotta-
32 touchdowns and 6 interceptions 2 years ago, and he threw 20 touchdowns, 17 picks last year. I don't know what happened. He lost 9 starters on offense. That's the only thing I can think of. But
I'm really big on what have you done for me lately, and
Mhm.
that's why I'm currently in love with Joe Burrow. Just the best college season
Right.
ever by any one player.
Right.
And love this past season. I've watched I watched the LSU game. That game was terrible. Terrible. Just no sense. You think a team with a franchise quarterback that has a quarterback that's going to be a franchise quarterback in the NFL, you think they'd be able to compete with like Mountain West competition, but like he doesn't produce.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry if I'm going to take you and I expect you to be my franchise quarterback and you played in the Mountain West. That's your conference. You should be running that. You should be ranked at least. Ranked.
I 100% agree with that. I 100% agree
Yeah,
with that. I'm a huge win now guy.
Just the probability of him going from the season he had to being really good allowed us to break right. Not only with him improving, but just the system he gets into, need the right coaching staff. Because clearly, mentally, he might be a little not as confident if he goes into these spirals where he turns the ball over a lot for long periods. So yeah, it's just
well, it's not like Patrick
I
Mahomes,
just it's
Texas
hard for
Tech
me.
was playing for the national championship either.
That's right.
I mean, yeah, Mahomes always his case gonna get a lot of guys like Jordan Love drafted high, and
Exactly.
maybe one of them turns out. I mean, just the upside of taking a quarterback is always there.
I also don't think this is talked about enough. Mahomes played in the Big 12, and that's home to the most inflated. When I look at a player from the Big 12, I don't look at stats because no matter if they're bad or good, stats in the Big 12 are inflated.
Right.
And that's any category. I just think when it comes to those players, people try to look back at Mahomes and say, "Oh, well, he didn't shine in college," like kind of like Love. But it's different. It's different. You go back and watch Mahomes from college. You go back and watch his pro day where he's throwing 70 yards off his knees. Like, come on. Like that's different than what we're getting in Love, I think.
Well, Josh
personally.
Allen can do that too, and he's not Patrick Mahomes.
I think Mahomes just built in a lab, and then he's around his annoying ass girlfriend all the time. So he, well, she's got some good qualities too, but you know what I mean. And he's just constantly just working. Like, who learns how to do a no look pass? I remember never forget watching that, being like, we lost this game. Am I really gonna watch the rest of this game? Like they just zoom in on it, and he just sidearm. He's looking at Terrell Suggs bearing down on him, and he just fires a bullet 15 yards down the field. I mean, Mahomes, it's just so hard to use him. I mean, I understand what Mark's saying. I mean, he didn't light it up in college. Was very erratic like Jordan Love, but it's just the guy's so unique. It's hard to say, all right, well, there's Mahomes.
Yeah, he's the
If
one
that's
in the
one of
million
your
guy.
best arguments, if that's one of your best arguments for Jordan Love, it's
It's
tough
like taking a quarterback who didn't even start at their college and saying, "Oh, that's Brady." Like that's not a fair comparison.
Well, the analytics
you know?
say if you don't have your franchise guy, you keep taking chances until you do, and you never know. Jordan Love could be that guy.
Yeah, I agree with that, and then that's where the third round I think is an apt grade for him.
Should we talk about Herbert?
No, I want to get into something that we don't talk to as
I
much.
want to talk about Herbert too. Burrow.
Yeah, I want to get into something. We talk in our group chat a lot about this upcoming draft, and one person that we really haven't talked much and touched much on is Tua, and I think that conversation is huge because personally, I see Alabama QB and I get scared. And you're talking about a top 10.
That's not what scares me.
So
what scares me is
I want
the
to know where you
injuries.
guys.
And recently, it just came out that he broke his wrist twice last year in spring ball. It went totally unreported, and he failed 2 physicals from teams inside the top 10.
Need some milk. I get the injury worries, and I'm a big Tua guy. I love Tua. I think he's going to be a very good NFL quarterback if he stays healthy.
You're not scared by
but
the 2 failed physicals?
If he stays healthy.
You know, I think Tua is, and I'm not as high on Tua. I'll admit. I think he's a better Teddy Bridgewater for on the field how he plays and how brittle he is. I just think how many risks he takes, the
Yeah.
way he plays with his frame. He's not fast enough to be like Michael Vick. He's not strong enough to stand in the pocket and take a beating, but also run around like Carson Wentz does and improvise on the fly.
Well, a lot of comps he's
also
gotten is Drew Brees, and I'm just not seeing it. I see the
yeah,
accuracy,
no, he
but
doesn't.
I just don't see that elite
Drew Brees
level.
is. There's never going to be another quarterback that processes information as fast as Drew Brees. I mean, people I tried to say that was Baker Mayfield after his rookie year, and I mean, look how that worked out. I mean, it just Drew Brees. He just sits there like the way he goes through progressions. I don't know how he does it, but I don't think the odds of Tua doing that. I think he'll be a decent quarterback, but I definitely don't. I'm not someone who's running to the podium but taking him with the second overall pick.
Yeah, I agree with that, Reg. I've seen a lot of things about teams trading up to 3 to take him. It's just stay pat. To me, he's going to be a good NFL quarterback, I believe. And if we're going to talk cons about Tua, I think it's important we mention that he had 4 first-round receivers on his roster this year.
That's where I get scared.
2 of which are going to go in the top 15 this year, and the next 2 are going to go in the top 15 next year.
That's true.
Like I don't know. Rugg mentioned it when we were all watching the LSU Alabama game. He doesn't seem to have the command over the line or command over the offense that Joe Burrow had. Like you could see it in that game. It was like a mirror reflection. Like Joe Burrow, he just seemed like in charge of his offense. Like he was directing it. He knew what he was doing. He seemed calm, composed. And Tua, yeah, he was hurt, but like it just didn't seem like he had a firm grip on it.
That's a great point.
It seemed like he was getting a play call and he was coming to the line. He was running it. Like it didn't seem like there was.
I have my concerns about Joe Burrow, but you can't deny he's a gamer. After he took that hit in that Clemson game in the national championship and came back and won.
Yeah, I mean, my feelings about Joe Burrow amongst you guys are well known. I think he's a future Hall of Famer. I think he's the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck. He checks every box for me. He's tough. He's mobile. He's got a great feel for the game. He's in command of the offense. He might be the most accurate college quarterback I've ever seen in my life. I mean, some of the throws he was making against Oklahoma.
His ball placement is insane. Where he puts the ball for the receiver to get and where the defender is, it's the best I've ever watched out of a college quarterback personally.
Yeah, look, he's got one knock, and that's he did it last year. But, I mean, what's he going to become inaccurate again? I mean, what's going to change? I mean, unless something drastic changes, I don't see how last year wasn't the Joe Burrow we're going to see in the NFL. I mean, unless the Cincinnati Bengals are an even worse of an organization than we all know they are right now.
Well, they don't even have an outdoor practice facility.
I mean, yeah, there's always the risk he could be the next Archie Manning, even if he is really good. But I just think he's going to be great.
Well, I don't think Cincinnati is as bad of an organization as everyone makes them out to be. They made the playoffs 5 times in the last 10 years.
And 1-0.
Yeah, I mean, you would speak from experience, so I do value that.
I mean, you'd know more about them than me because they're in your division, but
no, but like regarding bad organizations, that's you're an expert with the Redskins.
Oh yeah, there's no denying.
I judge an organization how good or bad they are if I see talent on that roster and I see like they're not getting the hype they deserve. Like Geno Atkins is probably one of the best defensive tackles of our generation, and he's never gotten like all pro hype just because they don't win playoff games. You know, like I don't know.
I mean, that's kind of how that works. Is people go under the radar when their teams aren't doing well.
It's also Cincinnati. No one's running to put Cincinnati on Sunday Night Football.
Exactly.
And AJ Green hasn't played in 2 years, I think.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, is AJ Green ever gonna play a football game again, or is that just? I mean, he's talking money. I heard there was some contract negotiations, and
he's cool in it.
I mean,
Andy Dalton's not to write home about either.
Would you want to play with Andy Dalton throwing you the football? Yeah. I mean, there's worse. There's worse, but Andy he's not far from that worst. I'll tell you that.
I mean, is Andy Dalton that much worse than Dak Prescott, though? Are they? I mean, he's like a poor man.
Yes. There's not even.
He's worse, but he's not. You're telling me he's 5 times worse. I think he's like half as good. I think he's. I don't think he's as good as Dak Prescott, but they're kind of similar.
We're calling half the quarterback of someone
that doesn't exist
similar.
In the NFL. There's nobody 5 times worse than anybody in the NFL.
Yeah, I didn't communicate that very well, but I think Andy Dalton would give 80% of the production Dak Prescott does in the same offense.
I agree with that.
I don't think Andy Dalton's a horrific quarterback.
Well, Andy Dalton's receivers didn't lead the league in drops last year.
Are we gonna intro this into the Dallas Cowboys conversation?
I think we should.
Yeah, let's talk about the shit boy.
We want to talk about the shitters right now.
Let's let Dave give his post-mortem on the Jason Garrett era.
All right,
I like to preface.
We'll let Dave go on.
Okay.
It's gone. The clap is gone. That's all I gotta say. I mean, I just don't think if you didn't watch Cowboys games last year, on a consistent basis, you knew the tone of the game from the first snap. Just the tone of the game. And to me, as a player myself, that's all on coaching.
I disagree with that though. Because there's a lot of hold on. There's a lot of games where Dallas comes out in the first drive of the game, has an amazing drive, and then they shut down for the next 3-4 possessions.
That's script. You're scripting that first drive, and then after that, you have nothing.
Okay, we're talking about the vibe. You're talking about the feel from the first snap. If you come out strong, then it's not having a bad feeling from the first snap.
Look, it's you either go down and score that first drive. This is Dallas. It was probably Chicago's the first game that comes to mind with this. We looked great on that first drive. And you don't have anything after that to just combat Chicago. That's the vibe I'm talking about. Yeah, you get one good drive at the start. Maybe I exaggerate the start of the game. Okay. But like the second series, you're coming out and you're laying eggs, like every drive.
Yeah.
Like that. I'm sorry. At some point, I understand the players are the ones out on the field. But at some point, the coaching staff has to take responsibility just from the simple fact that we have talent. The guys on the Cowboys roster have done it before. So what's the issue, you know?
Well, I'm glad you said that because I wanted to talk about your thoughts on Kellen Moore still being on the staff because he was calling plays last year, correct?
Yes, I actually like that move, keeping Kellen Moore on the staff.
I mean, if your problems with the offense and the offense wasn't effective last year and you have the same play caller, what's the difference this year?
It's not that it wasn't effective. It wasn't effective at times. And honestly, this may be my bias, but I believe that Jason Garrett was behind the faulties in the offense. And I believe that at times he kind of like wanted Kellen Moore to pull back on some plays because it was the first few weeks of the season. Obviously, we played shitty competition, but that's not what I'm talking about. It's the things that we were doing offensively. We were running with Dak. We were motioning receivers across the screen. Dak was getting out of the pocket. Like we did those things, and then once we did start playing like the better competition, it's not like those things were stopped. They were just kind of phased out. And I feel like Kellen Moore, obviously he was a first-year offensive coordinator, so like he takes a lot of blame for me too, but he showed a lot of promise for me as well. But Jason Garrett being the head coach with a first-year offensive coordinator, like I'm sorry, he's the one that's going to shelter the blame here, you know?
Well, as a Redskins fan, I've been saying for years, I'm not threatened by Jason Garrett at all. I was so happy he was the coach there for so long. He was a glorified cheerleader.
He just has no motivation. I mean, you listen to Jason Garrett talk before a football game, and I don't know. It's like he was an anti-motivator. Like if he didn't show up to the game, they'd be just by default more motivated to play.
I'm also a big under the impression that Dallas didn't have any tough guys on their team. I think we had too many nice guys.
I think that's obvious when Jalen Smith is celebrating incomplete passes when you guys are down by 10
Don't get me wrong. I think Dak is a great leader. I don't think he's a tough guy. I think Jalen Smith is a good leader at times, except for when he's being a fucking idiot. I think he's a good leader at times, but he isn't a tough guy. If you listen to him talk, he's like the nicest guy in the world. What Dallas misses is like that Michael Irvin, you know? Just someone on that roster that's going to get on you. Troy Aikman, dude. Just someone who's going to get in your ass and just like let you know, like, pick this shit up, man. Like, I'm not your friend right now. When that game starts, those people, they're not friends, they're family, but they're business workers. They're working together, you know? And they got to let each other know. They got to hold each other accountable. And no one on the Dallas roster did that last year. And I thought adding Michael Bennett to the squad was going to help with that, but it just seemed like he didn't care. It seemed like he was just along for the ride.
terrible
Well,
personality.
it could also help adding former drug addict and criminal Alden Smith to the roster.
I also think the Cowboys. You can tell me you disagree with this, Dave. I feel like they had an identity issue on offense too, as far as their game plan coming. If they wanted Dak to take over the game, if they wanted Zeke to do, I'm looking at PFF right now. I see passing snaps versus running snaps, and they're just all over the place, all over the season. Just rhythm was out of touch. It was all over the place.
And you know what that goes back to is coaching.
Yeah. But is that Kellen Moore as much as it's Jason Garrett or what?
That could be half the season. That's something we're going to find out this year, you know? That could be half the season Kellen Moore is getting the edge in the film room, and he's like, hey, can we do this week with Dak? Or like, hey, can we do this week with Zeke? And then Jason Garrett, vice versa, comes back and goes, no, we're doing – because Jason Garrett, he's not the OC, and Mark calls him a cheerleader, which I agree for the most part. But as the head coach, you have the final say over what goes in the playbook and for the week and what you're running, you know?
I just don't see what the point of him in the building was. He wasn't calling plays on defense, special teams, offense. He wasn't doing anything.
His point was clear. It was Jerry Jones' puppet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've said from the beginning, if Jerry Jones could be head coach, he would be.
Well, let's see how Mike McCarthy does.
Well, while we're in the NFC East, you guys want to break into Dwayne Haskins and Daniel Jones and what their situations are looking like?
No, I want to first. I want to stop at since we're on coaching and head coaches. I really want to get into this D-Hop trade situation. All the trades that have been going in and out of the Houston Texans organization. I mean, it seems. I can't figure it out. I can't figure it out.
Bill O'Brien is a waffling idiot.
Yeah.
I think we all can come to a consensus on that, and it's as a coach, I'm already not high on him. I think he makes some boneheaded decisions as a coach. But put your pride aside, dude. Obviously something happened, okay? Like, he's not that stupid to where he's just trading DeAndre Hopkins for no reason. Obviously they had a disagreement on things, but like, you have to think about Deshaun Watson, you know?
I mean, this isn't Odell Beckham. This is DeAndre Hopkins.
There's also rumors that Deshaun Watson could be on the move.
Manage him.
I mean, you have to be wondering what the hell is going on inside that building.
I think he's fine. I think he's staying put now, but I bet you $1 million before the Brandon Cooks trade, Deshaun Watson walked right into Bill O'Brien's office.
maybe he thought with the Astros scandal, he could get away with all this.
He said, "Give me a number one receiver or trade me."
Why Brandon Cooks though? He's basically a better version of Will Fuller.
Because Bill O'Brien doesn't have a number one receiver now. So he has to go out and shop for bargain deals on trades to get a number one receiver.
But do we think Brandon Cooks is a number one receiver?
I think Brandon Cooks can be a number one.
He's a good receiver, but it's not a fit for Watson. Cooks is a speed demon. Watson needs a big possession receiver. Yeah. I don't know, like DeAndre Hopkins, who they traded away. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
And the Cardinals absolutely fleeced him. The Cardinals were trying to get rid of David Johnson. He's a cap casualty. He hasn't played healthy in years. I don't know what that trade is.
Brandon Cooks was a cap casualty too.
I mean, it's just more evidence that running backs just don't matter. And Kenyon Drake took David Johnson's job and was great in the last 4 games.
Yep. And Kenyon Drake's a good running back too, though. It's not like he's a Joe Schmo. He's a good
I mean, Raheem Mostert was a Joe Schmo until he was the star of the NFC Championship game. That's true. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's just, if you're in a good running scheme, I mean, running back doesn't matter, but Bill O'Brien's scheme sucks, so I guess he needs
Houston has Carlos Hyde! They have Carlos Hyde and Lamar. No, is Lamar Miller still in Houston?
I believe he is.
I don't know. Right? He's injured though. He's been injured.
But there's no asset or facet of this trade that makes any absolute sense. None. No, there's none. And we can talk about this all we want. I think that's just the conclusion we're going to come to. It's just a matter of what he's going to do with the player that he acquired, which is Brandon Cooks, on the field next year. That's what it comes down to.
They walked away with an expensive running back and still no first-round pick this year.
Yeah, or a second-rounder.
No, they have 3 second-rounders this year.
I wasn't the greatest fantasy football commissioner of all time, but I would have vetoed that trade. And everyone would have agreed with it.
Oh my god! Don't get me started.
Those reports that GMs were laughing at Bill O'Brien.
Yeah, it's horrible. Yeah, I also it's been talked about. Like he has too much power too. People argue he's the coach and he's the GM, and it doesn't seem like anyone's
Isn't their owner like senile or something? Maybe he's just like doing whatever he wants.
Owner's not interested or is not invested. He's just doing what he's no checks and balances. He's just doing his thing.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to have any. I mean, I guess the standard in Houston's pretty low right now since the beloved Astros got their whole organization fired over what they've done. So Bill O'Brien's still probably thinking, hey, compared to the other teams, I'm still hanging in there.
Yeah.
I also am a believer that Deshaun Watson is a little overrated. Personally,
I mean, we're trashing how bad of Coach Bill O'Brien is, and you're saying Russell or Deshaun Watson's overrated.
I think he's rated properly. I think he's a great young talent in a bad system, but he also he's a high variance player. He has some really good games, and
we all saw what he did against Buffalo
games
this year. I mean, he makes some crazy.
He's got happy feet, dude. I mean, he's a baller.
Well, also that game he also shut down for 3 quarters.
Well, that game was him in a nutshell. He's really bad sometimes. He's really good sometimes, but he's mentally tough. So when you have guys like that who keep firing, they end up being really exciting, really productive players.
Yeah, their defense, Texans defense, just kept them in the game, and then if you keep teams in the game long enough, eventually players like him will.
Josh Allen kept them in the game.
Well, yeah.
Well, we have our disagreements about Josh Allen. I'm a big Josh Allen
we do.
God. It shouldn't even be a debate. Josh Allen is not a good quarterback.
I firmly disagree.
How do you have a rocket arm, but you can't hit a
Dude, Marcus loves rocket arm guys.
Yeah,
Marcus loves guys that throw the ball hard.
I don't I can
let's
literally
go to Stephon Diggs this year now that John Brown isn't his best receiver.
How can you get on Lamar Jackson's running and then sit here and argue to me that Josh Allen is a great young quarterback?
Josh Allen ran for more yards than Lamar Jackson in their rookie years.
Okay, Lamar Jackson wasn't
playing your video. Lamar Jackson wasn't even playing.
Josh Allen didn't play the whole year either.
He played more than Lamar.
I believe he played 9 games.
Oh wait, actually, Mark might be right. Now that I think about that,
he played more.
That's actually funny. Mark actually might be right about that because Josh Allen, I forgot how that he didn't play the whole season either.
I believe he played 9 games. Didn't Lamar play 10, including the playoff game?
Lamar played 7.
I don't know. I feel
Lamar played 7.
I feel like I don't know. I just feel like he turns into a fullback when he runs the ball, which is nice.
Well, his rookie season he had no receivers, and now he has Cole Beasley, John Brown, and Stephon Diggs. I want to see what he does this year.
Cole Beasley is a god. Yes.
Yeah, all agreed.
I don't know. I feel like I could grab Paxton Lynch from Denver.
Okay,
tell him. Whenever your first and second read isn't open, just run, and he could do just as good as Josh Allen in Buffalo.
I mean, Paxton Lynch really.
Paxton Lynch doesn't even look coordinated.
Paxton Lynch. That's who you put in. That's who you plugged in.
He's 6'7" with a rocket arm, and he's big, and he can move a little bit.
He's basically like a moronic Brock Osweiler. Like, how did we get to Paxton Lynch?
Yeah,
because he's 6'7", he's big, and he can move, and he has a rocket of an arm.
Well, what about Josh Allen's horrible passer rating on throws further than 30 yards?
Yeah, John Brown was the best receiver. Let's see what he does with Stephon Diggs. Give him another year. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
I don't think Josh Allen's that bad. I also don't think Josh Allen's that good. And I do agree with Mark. You got to give him a chance now that he has a receiver.
Okay,
well, we're not saying that.
That's not what we're arguing. Mark said all last season that Josh Allen was a good quarterback.
Yeah, I think he is.
Yeah,
he's above average. I think he's above average.
He's above average?
I think he's above average.
He's better than like Carson Wentz, Matthew Stafford, guys in that middle tier.
I would say
Cousins.
Carson Wentz is top 10 quarterback. I would put Josh Allen in the 10 to 15 range.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't take long to list quarterbacks. Like you're saying, like Phillip Rivers is better than, or Josh Allen's better than Phillip Rivers. I mean,
I think he is better than Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers was terrible last year.
Do you see how bad Phillip Rivers' O-line is? Josh Allen's in a great situation. He has very little responsibility. He's managing the game. Buffalo's got a really smart coaching staff.
Outstanding.
Yes.
Outstanding. They turned 85-year-old crucified Frank Gore back into a meaningful running back.
Well, that's one thing we can all agree on is Buffalo's head coach and the rest of their coordinators and coaching staff is really good.
Josh Allen was the 29th ranked PFF quarterback last season.
So Daniel Jones and Dwayne Haskins were both rated higher than him. That's interesting.
Okay,
I don't know if I agree with that.
Well, speaking of Dwayne Haskins, I think now is a good time to go ahead and start start giving our takes on the Dwayne Haskins
Let
situation
actually
in
Redskins
Washington.
fans
I'm
start.
gonna take the backseat on this one.
Are we doing Dwayne Haskins versus Daniel Jones or just Dwayne Haskins in general?
We'll just talk Dwayne Haskins in general. But for those of you that don't know, me and Mark are Redskins fans. Luke is a Seattle fan.
Mm-hmm.
Rugg is a Ravens fan, and Dave is a Cowboys fan, as you can tell.
I should have
Dave has
prefaced
passionate Cowboys arguments. But me and Mark have very different takes on the Dwayne Haskins situation. I don't like Dwayne Haskins. I'm not a Tua draft Tua guy this year because I don't think Tua is that great either. But I'm not a Dwayne Haskins guy, and I don't know. Mark loves him. Mark
I
has
wouldn't say
some
I love him.
huge fetish for Dwayne
I haven't said I
Haskins.
loved him once. I said let's see what happens. If you take away the first 2 games where he got thrown in off the bench and threw 4 interceptions, he has 7 touchdowns to 3 picks. If you take away those 2 games where he just got thrown in the fire.
Before you guys dive too deep into it, I wanted to bring this up. I have a buddy. He believes that Dwayne Haskins is a carbon copy of Sam Bradford.
Why is that?
I don't know. I could see it.
That's interesting. Does he is he bad under pressure? Does he kind of really struggle when he's blitzed or has a rusher in his face?
Yes. Dwayne Haskins struggled with a lot last season.
Because I mean, he was, to be fair, he was pressured so frequently. It's hard to tell if that's actually a situation he struggles with, or if it was just the rookie year and the Redskins are the Redskins. His O-line was, I mean, Trent Williams was protesting the whole season. I mean, just the Redskins O-line was in such flux, but Haskins did really struggle. I think I kind of like him, but I'm going to wait and see with him. And just because things don't usually work out for the Redskins, I'm leaning in one direction. But it's close debate.
Well, you never know. You never know with Washington. It never seems to work out for them with quarterbacks.
He has the arm talent and he's smart.
Yeah, if you see some of the crazy throws he made, like that one rolling out to the left to Terry McLaurin, 50 yards down the field that got called back for a holding, that was one of the best throws I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was incredible.
When I watch him play, he does all the right things, and it just seems like something's off.
Well, you got to remember, Jeremy Sprinkle was his best tight end last year.
Jeremy Sprinkle.
The 6th-round pick out of Southern Missouri, who even knows? Some no-names.
I don't know. He has good feet in the pocket. His release isn't like... He has a good-looking release, and it's not unbearably long.
He had one of the fastest releases in the NFL. Quickest time to throw the ball. And he had the fewest turnover-worthy plays in the NFL. He had fewer turnover-worthy plays than interceptions.
If you believe Terry McLaurin is the number one that he is, then I don't understand like where the disconnect is.
Me and you talked a little bit about this in the group chat, but I think Terry McLaurin's a carbon copy of Amari Cooper.
I think he has a ways to go.
I like Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin.
Dude's a burner.
I think if you look at Dwayne Haskins' circumstances last year, he needs to be given more time. He was throwing to 3 rookie receivers. Trent Williams wasn't playing. He had no tight ends. And Darius Geis never plays. He's playing with 40-year-old Adrian Peterson. I mean, he's only so good.
AP's good.
He's good, but he's not the guy he used to be.
And he was playing for a coach who didn't even want him.
That's also
Jay
true.
Gruden had no interest in Dwayne Haskins, and I mean, look, Jay was a professional about it.
Well, they tried to say he had dyslexia and he couldn't pick up the offense, which is just not true.
Wait. What did they? What did they say that?
There was a report that came out about it. Yeah, Jay Gruden just.
Well, yeah,
didn't
that's not a
Dwayne
good strategy to ingratiate yourself with your quarterback. Oh, he's dyslexic.
We have a real head coach now. I want to give him I want to give him this year, and let's see what happens.
Well, I mean, he's not the guaranteed starter this year. He is not the guaranteed starter this year.
Wait, what?
With Ron Rivera.
Because Kyle Allen
is not a threat to anybody. Come on.
Kyle Allen is horrific.
Oh, dude. Ron Rivera brought him in
to teach Dwayne Haskins the playbook.
Backup quarterback.
No, he brought him in because he's going to be awful and he'll put no pressure on Dwayne Haskins. Like, see, you're at least better than Kyle Allen.
If we wanted pressure on Dwayne Haskins, we'd take a Jalen Hurts or somebody in the third, or sign a real veteran quarterback.
That's how I'm interpreting it. Kyle Allen stinks.
I mean, if anyone watched the Panthers game last year, I know it's pretty hard to do, but it's literally dump down to Christian McCaffrey.
What's interesting about the Kyle Allen acquisition is that they traded their best corner for him, basically. Right to Seattle.
No, not the best. Not the best corner. The only corner.
Well, that's
No,
not
you
true.
said
I disagree.
Fabian
We
Moreau.
signed Kendall Fuller, and Fabian Moreau looked good on the outside. He was a terrible
Fabian
slot
Moreau's
corner,
not
but he looked
bad.
good on the outside.
All I'm saying is, if you want to go on the next season with Fabian Moreau covering Amari Cooper, more power to you.
Yeah.
That's all I have to
And
say.
Quentin Dunbar is just a great ball player.
Well, if Chase Young is who he is, then Mark Cooper won't have time to get open.
The Redskins' front seven will be pretty good next year.
Top 5 for sure.
Got some talent.
I promise you, Chase Young's going to line up on Tyron Smith, and Tyron Smith is going to sun him.
Oh, you mean the guy that misses 12 games a year because he has a bad back?
He misses like 4. It's a chronic bad back too. It's not like it's like he's still good when he's on.
Dwayne Haskins had a higher PFF grade than Kyler Murray as well. Just an interesting fact.
By 1.
Well, he had the second highest, only behind Gardner Minshew.
I actually didn't know that though, because I thought Kyler Murray had a
did. He won Rookie
I think it negatively
But
affected him because he
PFF,
threw like 20% of his passes were screens. I think that negatively affected him.
PFF loves throws down the field, and they hate turnover-worthy plays. And that kind of goes a little against Kyler Murray, I think, when they're grading guys like that. Haskins played it a little safe, partly because he had to, because he didn't have time to throw the ball. So, but it's something to watch. I mean, Daniel Jones is the other rookie, too. He's another guy, really poised player, takes a lot of risks, can't hold on to the ball for its life. I mean,
24 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 18 fumbles last year.
Yeah.
I mean, 18 fumbles. That's crazy.
I agree.
That's something he's gonna have to fix. That's definitely something you have to fix.
I don't know can you fix that? I mean, how do you
fix
fix
something
that?
At one point after 15, I'd imagine it becomes mental, and that's definitely when NFL defensive linemen are watching that on film and saying, "Oh, that ball is mine. Like I'm going to take it. I promise you."
Jamal Adams literally just ripped the ball. I've never seen that before. He just ripped it out of his hand, and start running. That's like something that you try and touch football, and it never works. He actually did it in an NFL game.
Well, Daniel Jones also had way better targets than Dwayne Haskins. He has Saquon, Evan Ingram, Sterling Shepard.
That's why I think Daniel Jones is going to have a better year than Dwayne. But we're going to save that for a later podcast. I want to go ahead, and because we have the draft coming up, I want to go ahead and give Dave, Rugg, and Luke a chance to get in on their sleeper picks that they have coming up for the draft. I know Dave's done a ton of research late into the fuck Mark. Mark doesn't know shit about this draft, but I mean he just loves Jordan Love. But we're gonna go ahead and let Dave take the floor on this because I know Dave has researched deep into the third round. And he loves people like Ruggs. He just loves
my cousin.
Guys.
My cousin. When it comes to sleepers, I think there's a large variety of guys deep in this draft. When I think of a sleeper, I think of someone you typically value as late second to probably late 6th. That might be a quality starter for your team because anytime you get someone like the 5th round that starts for your team, it's a good pick. The first guy I'd like to dive into, his name's Kyle Duggar. He's from one of those small schools I was talking about earlier, Lenora Rhine. It's a D2 school. Obviously, D2 people probably hear that and they just click off his name, but
let me say something real quick about this guy. What I noticed from the limited tape I saw, I haven't dug too deep in this guy, but his instincts were just insane.
The dude's a rocket. He obviously looks like a men amongst children in D2 ball, which is obviously what you want to see in lower competition. That's the first thing I look for when I look for lower competition guys. He's a rangy free safety. He's 6'1", 220. For a rangy free safety that goes hash to hash, 6'1", 220, he can come and lay a hit on somebody too. He lays hits. Interesting fact about him, which I love for my free safety. If he's going to be a rangy free safety catching interceptions, he had 6 punt return touchdowns last year. 6. If you can get the ball in your hands and do that on defense to where I don't need Dak to touch the field, I can just watch him do that. Give me that all day.
Where do you see this guy slipping to?
I say early 3rd, mid 3rd. I would put him mid-second. It's just the competition's obviously going to bring him down a lot. If I'm being honest, he looked bored playing against D2 competition. Like he's a very talented kid. He just looked bored and like he kind of slows down on a lot of plays sometimes.
You know who he kind of
some
reminded
fundamental
me of?
stuff.
Jimmy Moreland out of James Madison. Obviously, one's a corner and one's a safety, but just the return skills, the ball skills in the air. He's just a crazy athlete.
Another thing, he needs to work on a lot of technical stuff too. His footwork can get a little lost at times, but like it just comes back to him playing lower competition ball to where he could get away with like, hey, I'm a better athlete than you. I'm gonna be better than you. You know, it was just it was a lot of that. But if he fixes up some of his technical stuff, I think he could be special.
Where do you
Another
have him in your
guy,
safety rankings? Do you think he's better than a guy like Ashton Davis?
I think they're 1A, 1B. I like Ashton Davis a lot. I think it goes Delpit, McKinney, Davis, and Duggar. I think Duggar is a quality player. What about you, Mark? You got anyone?
Yeah, I want to talk about Jalen Reagor a little bit. He's not as much of a sleeper as your guy, but I think he has the potential to be better than Ruggs.
Explain.
What?
You guys don't agree?
Henry Ruggs, for those listening.
Yeah, Henry Ruggs, obviously. But I like his big play ability. He played in a smaller school, not as much talent, but I really like what I saw from this guy on tape. You guys have an opinion on him?
What I found,
Is he fast? What is he?
I found
Receiver?
interesting. I found an interesting thing about him. This is something my buddy, the one I was talking about earlier, he linked this to me. He fired his trainer after the combine because didn't he run in the slow like 4.4s or something? He lost 10 pounds and ran a 4.2 at his pro day. Obviously, that's hand time, and you know we've had this discussion multiple times amongst each other. But I just think that's something interesting to look for with him. He also played with a really bad quarterback last year.
Well, I think this is such a deep wide receiver class. You can find yourself a starter in the 4th, 5th round with a guy like Devin Duvernay, Michael Pittman. There's tons of guys this year.
I think Pittman's going to slide into that
Chase
early second range.
Yeah, Chase Claypool, 6'4", ran a 4.4. Guy's a crazy athlete.
I didn't see for Claypool. I didn't see that 4.4 though. I didn't. When I watched him play, he looked like Evan Ingram on the outside.
There's a lot of speedsters this year in the wide receiver class, like Denzel Mims.
Mims can run. Mims a burner. Ruggs, of course. Reagor. I like. Let me think. I like Brian Edwards out of South Carolina. For those of you who don't know him, he's 6'3", 212. He has 32.25-inch arms. What did he run at the combine? He ran. Let me look this up real quick. It doesn't matter. Fast enough. 4.4, fast enough. That's, He reminds me a lot of the DJ Moore, Deebo Samuel wide receiver prototype. I touched on this a little bit earlier. I think that the NFL is moving more towards players having multiple players that do one thing rather than having one player that can do multiple things. So you get like a guy like Brian Edwards. He kind of rounds off his routes a little bit. He's not the best route runner, but you get the ball. He attacks the ball in the air, and you get the ball in his hands. He can run. He runs with anger. And the first guy I saw do that was DJ Moore, and then Deebo Samuel. Of course, I fell in love with both of those guys. When I get a receiver, I get the ball in his hands. He runs like a running back. Corners aren't going to want to tackle them. You know, like you can bring him man coverage on a drag route. You're telling me a corner's tracing him. He's not going to tackle him. He's going to break that for 15 yards. Like,
I think this is probably
you guys just have a knack for it.
This is probably the best wide receiver class there's ever been.
Down.
Yeah, this receiver class is special. And honestly, every time I watch a receiver, I'll go back and watch these guys. I move them up and down my board. My current receiver board is Lamb. I think I'll go Ruggs. Give me
Ruggs higher than Judy?
Give me Judy. Give me Judy after Ruggs.
I agree with Dave.
I just
then give me Jefferson and Pittman after that.
That's a hot take. That's a hot take. So you think Judy's going to drop in the draft, Dave, or do you think someone's going to take him?
I think Ruggs, Lamb, and Judy all go top 17.
I think Judy goes.
So you got Ruggs first round.
Oh, Ruggs is going first round. That's not the question.
I mean, you got Ruggs mid first round then, mid
to early. I think he has a potential to go top 10.
Really, really. So you don't think that deep wide receiver class affects him negatively?
No,
to go later.
I think the deep wide receiver class affects him positively because he's one of the faster guys, and that's what the NFL is moving towards.
People might wait on receiver this year.
We
because
haven't
the
talked
class
much
is so
about
deep.
it. What about the running back position in this draft right now? I mean, Jonathan Taylor. I mean, you got a lot of guys that they talk about second round that are pretty good.
I have a running back sleeper that I love. Cam Akers out of
Jonathan
Florida
Taylor's my running. Ooh, I like Cam Akers. I'll get to that in a second. Jonathan Taylor, he's a monster. Big dude, fast, breakaway speed. I mean, vision. Not much not to love about him. I have Clyde Edwards-Helaire as my second running back.
I love Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's like Maurice Jones-Drew, but he catches even better. I mean, he's just so quick with his decision making and open field. His instincts.
Route runner. He's a very good route runner.
He's one of those muscle hamsters that's just he bounces off people. It's so fun to watch.
I haven't looked into the running back position a lot, but the way I look at it, the four top guys, DeAndre Swift, the guy from Ohio State, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, all those guys are in.
I like J.K. Dobbins too. J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, Dobbins is good.
He has a lot of zeke to him.
Dobbins just understands how to find a hole and hit it.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know with those guys. Sometimes they work out in the NFL. Sometimes they don't.
Yeah, I agree. All right, well, I think that's going to end up doing it for us in our first podcast. I want to thank everyone that has tuned in to listen. I also want to go ahead and give our guys over, the head guys over at Dorm Room Sports, a shout out for giving us our platform to speak on. Shelly and Brian, Jacob Selden is Shelly, and he all those guys, they did a lot of work to get this website up and running. They did everything to give us our platform. They basically made it as easy as possible for us to get on here and start talking and give what we know about it. I just really want to say thank you to them. We plan going forward to have a bunch of interviews coming. We have guys that we've talked to in the NFL, out of the NFL. We got guys, reporters, we got refs, we got people we know that we plan on having interviews with for you guys, for those who listen to us. And we plan to get those into the podcast coming soon. We don't know exactly when, but we hope to have it soon. Another thing is that we are going to be recording hopefully once a week with the draft coming up next week. We're recording this on 4/16, so April 16th. The launch date is April 20th when you guys will be hearing it. We plan on having a draft, basically potentially a draft watch party. If we don't do that, we will sure have a podcast basically all on the draft, where we think things happen, who did well, our draft grades, coming right after the draft. And that will be out to you guys. And we are planning to have podcasts on a weekly basis. But I want to say thank you to everyone for tuning in. And for our first podcast, thank you guys very much and have a wonderful rest of your weekend.